That's Phil LeBeau, of course, walking with the Boeing CEO. Day 2 of testimony.
That was tough yesterday, man.
Phil's with us now. Phil, you described his performance yesterday. I think it was average at best, is how you said.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and really the second half of yesterday, it was not good. Look, he didn't have a chance to answer many questions, mainly because a number of the senators said, flat out, this company is a mess. And there are a number of problems, specifically with the MAX, with the FAA certification. Senator Tammy Duckworth from Illinois, she flat out called him a liar. She said, you lied, your company lied to us. That's what I asked him about in the hallway. He essentially dodged the question and said, look, we've never been lying to anyone. We have been forthright. Much the same message that we've heard from him time and again. Guys, as bad as those questions were yesterday for Dennis Muilenburg to sit through, it may be even rougher with some of the representatives who are going to be talking today. Peter DeFazio, I talked with him the other day. They've been doing an investigation. His committee's been doing an investigation. They are loaded to bear, and they're going to come at him hard, and I think he's not the only one. I think there will be more specific questions about what he knew, when he knew it, and specifically with the chief technical pilot and the instant messages and the emails that he exchanged with another Boeing employee where he suggested that he misled regulators. Yesterday, Dennis Muilenburg said, yes, I was aware of those emails and instant messages before the second 737 MAX crash in March of last year. I mean, that was one of those moments where everybody kind of looked around at each other and said, okay, were you aware, or did you read the message? Did you know that? What specifically did you know about those messages, and why wasn't that brought up immediately in terms of discussions with the FAA, et cetera? Guys, back to you.
Yeah, Phil, I got to tell you, it felt a lot like when Tim Sloan, CEO of Wells Fargo, went to Washington, and it really wasn't Sloan's fault. He was cleaning up John Stumpf's mess, but he was hurting the franchise, and he told me if he was hurting the Wells Fargo franchise, he would resign. I thought that Dennis was contrite, but I think that if the board says that he's hurting the franchise, well, Phil, doesn't he have to do what Tim Sloan did?
Which brings up the question, if you buy that, and I'm not saying that that's a wrong theory, but Jim, if you buy that, is it better to replace your CEO now when you've got a ton of things that are up in the air and a ton of uncertainty regarding the MAX and getting it back in service? Or are you better served by saying, okay, we don't think he's the right person, but let's get through this crucial period, then we address this once the FAA recertifies the plane, whether that happens by the end of the year or shortly after the new year. I mean, that's really what the question comes down to for the board of directors.
No, it has to be the latter. You cannot do it right now. And it has to be up to the board and Dennis dealing with the board. But, yes, you can't do it right now. But I hear you, Phil. And, you know, I'm rooting for Dennis and I'm rooting for Boeing just because it's a great American company. But I understand that there are people in Washington who are basically saying, if you want this company in 2020 to be in the mix of defense contractors, in the mix of what's blessed, we're going to need a change. And I thought that was harsh because I thought Dennis was contrite. But, wow, Phil, those two options you offer, I'm taking the second.
One quick note, Jim. When this all started, I specifically brought this question to several Boeing executives and their PR people. I said, why don't you bring in an outside investigator, much like General Motors did with the ignition switch failure recall? And you bring in that outside investigator and you say, have at it. Find what you need to find. You come to us at a certain point and tell us where the problem is, who did what, and we'll take action from there. The response that I got time and again from Boeing executives was, everybody said time and again, they said, we don't need that. The board is going to look into this. We're going to look into this. We can handle this ourselves. And what's happened since then, Jim? Drip upon drip upon drip of new revelations that have come out. And this creates the appearance, which we heard yesterday from the senators, of you're not being straight with us. You've lied to us, according to Senator Tammy Duckworth. And that's the problem with them not bringing in somebody with a stellar reputation who could investigate this from the get-go.
They should have brought in Ted Wells from Paul Weiss. We don't talk about Fox being a corrupt or crooked company or anything because Ted Wells went in there and he said, here's how we see. You're absolutely right, Phil. And Ted would have been the guy beyond reproach, tough.
Yeah.
Think about the NFL. They went in the NFL. They decide, the NFL, which some argue is the most powerful organization in the country, and Paul Weiss basically said, here's the way we see it. You are so right, Phil. They should have brought in someone like Paul Weiss who cannot be bought.